Hello everyone, my name is Mckee, and I am a TEALS volunteer in my 5th year volunteering in classrooms with TEALS. And I'm going to talk to you for a couple minutes today about the TEALS Forums. And really it's just a couple quick tips on how I get the most out of my use of the forums. So it's not a basic overview. I'm assuming here that you already know about the forums, how to use them, generally all the posting and replying and how all the threads work. I'm really just going to focus in on a couple tips that have worked really well for me. And the main concept about all these tips are that they're really about managing your engagement with the forums and helping you keep on top of the content that's relevant to you in the times and places that you want it. One of my biggest challenges starting with the forums was that by default, you get a lot of notifications. And I found that overwhelming, and I found I didn't need a lot of notifications. They were on topics for a class I wasn't teaching, and so they just weren't helpful, and that kind of pushed me away from the forums right when I was getting started. But a couple tweaks can really help set you up for success and really engage more with the forums to help you, since that's really what the forums are here for. The first one I want to start with is making sure you know about bookmarking threads or replies in threads. If you go onto any thread in any topic, if I'm interested in looking at the updates or reviewing the updates at the curriculum, and you go to the show more options, there's a nice little bookmark this post option. You also notice at the bottom there's a big button to bookmark, and that will bookmark that first post as well. You can also individually bookmark any of the replies in a thread. So if I bookmark here the very first post, and then I go up to my user area and check the bookmarks, you can see Kenny's post here about updates to the intro curriculum was added. I love this because it's a way for me to, on my own time, when I have time, review posts that are interesting to me. For example, listening to this education podcast, really want to do it, really have not had time. It's a good way for me to be able to come back to it when I do. The other big tip about the forums that I want to go over is configuring notifications. And this was the thing that turned the forums for me into an actually really useful tool. So again, in your user area, under preferences, two main sections to look for here are notifications, obviously, with the different breakdowns of different types of things. You can configure when the forums will tell you what things are new and whenever you get some notifications. The big chunk to look for here is categories. So I, as a remote volunteer, like to follow every post that comes up in the remote category and all of the replies. When someone's talking about remote, I'm really interested in knowing about it. I'm also watching the first post on a couple of threads. So instead of following every post, every conversation, every reply that comes up, for Pacific Northwest volunteers, I'll get a notification the first time someone posts a new thread. And that's a good way to make sure I get notified if anybody from TEALS posts a new topic that's relevant to all volunteers in that area through that category. So that's a good way just to get notified of the first time something's coming up, and then you can go in and choose to watch that specific thread if you want to follow it more directly. You just take a glance at it. It's a good way to make sure you don't miss anything, any notifications from the forums. The other section is emails and configuring when you want to be emailed about things. So whenever someone messages me, I want an email directly. I want to know when someone's trying to contact me so I can get right back to them quickly. But I changed the activity summary off of whatever setting it was originally on. I've bumped this around a couple different ways as I have time. Right now I'm on weekly. You have a lot of options. But this is a great one that if you think getting a daily email about what's happened on the TEALS forums is a little too much, go ahead and bump it back. And again, these emails can be configured and set for what you want to know. So these do respect some of these notification settings about the kinds of things they're even giving you notifications and emails about. So those are my big couple tips. Configure notifications, bookmark things for yourself, use them to get the information that you want out of the forums more quickly, and stay on top of the parts you want to stay on top of. It helps the forums become a great tool instead of a chore to keep on top of, and they've really made it very useful for me. Thanks for listening, and if you do have any questions, you can find me, indeed, here on the forums.